Hello everyone, today I've got something really cool to share with you. I have finished some updates on my Ultimate Fantasy Football Draft tool. So in this video I am going to describe how you can make the most of this project to help you excel in your own fantasy league. Remember, you can find the download link for the project in the description below. So first, what I'll cover, I'm going to briefly go over everything on how to use the project. And also I want to mainly feature or focus on the new features to the project. And remember, at any time in this video you can pause the video and kind of read over my notes displayed on the screen, or just to walk through using the file yourself. Okay, so first, to make the most of the tool, before your draft you'll want to use it and familiarize yourself with it, so that during the draft you can be quick in reading and updating the data as needed, because you never know what to expect in the draft. But this tool is there to help you be ready for anything, hopefully. Also, so one new feature is on the data sheet. You can come over to column AA, which is highlighted in orange, and you can add your own player notes now, such as here I've put to avoid this player, avoid getting them this early, and I even left myself a little link, and I'll go into that more later. But so definitely be sure to make any notes you want to leave yourself on this data sheet, and also just familiarize yourself with how this whole project works. And then during your draft you're going to want to have this tool open, and you want to have this best pick sheet selected, and then you're just going to use the sheet pretty much when somebody, and here I'll just open the sheet and show you myself. I want to zoom out here so I can kind of get a good look. You should have some kind of zoom bar down there, just to make sure you can see the whole screen. But during your draft, pretty much, let's say this is first round of the draft, the guy who goes first picks Antonio Brown. You're going to want to hit Control A to add his name to the drafted players. Or let's say the second person gets Cam Newton, you can also type it manually. That's an option. Though, the Control A macro feature is very useful, so hopefully it works for you. Make sure to enable macros and then get used to typing that. And then when it's time for you to add a player to your own team, you can click them and hit Control W. And then during the draft, remember that you do have these three filters here. So let's say for some reason, even if you're already full on running backs, you just want to draft another running back, you can filter for running backs only. And also, before your draft, you'll want to make sure you have the correct number of players in your league shown here. And this right here is useful. Let's say I've already drafted a quarterback. Well then, what a yes right here means is that since this says yes, quarterbacks won't show up on either of these lists anymore, because I already filled my positions with quarterbacks. But if I still want them to be able to show up, I would just select no here. And now it's going to show me the best players remaining regardless. And so you'll see like Andrew Luck still listed, for example. And so let's see if I covered everything. Make sure to enable macros. Yep, so like I said, during your draft, before your draft, you want to update the data, add the notes, make sure this is the number of players in your league. And then during the draft, you can use these two filters to help yourself, and then the macro functions. And so this will help you keep tabs on who's been taken, who's left, And obviously the most useful feature of the tool is it lists the remaining players in like these summaries of them over here. So this is your top 10 remaining players sorted by the value over their target at their position. And then just back to what I said about the notes. See, the note I added for Jamaal Charles shows up right here. So then if I added a note for Todd Gurley, for example, I could say this guy is cool, and that note shows up when his name appears over here. So now for the new features. First, I have updated the consistency value. So now there's two values shown, right, and here's a consistency value. It's just underneath their name right here in the yellow. The first is the W value, is a weighted value. So I took into account games they missed from injury, games where and then just every other game based on where they were positioned for last year. And I gave them a consistency rating. And it's actually based on data I've gathered right here from ESPN's website. But so a 94 means 94% of games last year. It would have been a good move to have had Rob Gronkowski in my lineup. And if you know, last year there was one game that he missed, so that's why it'd be 94, 15 out of 16. So I mean, the best value you can have, if I go ahead and reset this, you'll see some people can have 100. That means Adrian Peterson, for example, you could have put him in your lineup and then never taken him out all last year, and he would have done perfectly fine. The second number is similar, but it's considered an actual, quote-unquote, actual value. And all this shows is how many games they were considered the top of their position, which would be top 10 for any position or top 25 for running back and wide receiver. So how many games out of the 16 total they were considered a top player in their position. So you can see Rob Gronkowski, for example, 69% of the 16 games, he was a top 10 tight end. And that's exactly what that A value shows you. Also, I've now added a display for bye week. Before I didn't have this, but here we can see Antonio Brown's bye week is week 8, Todd Gurley's is 8, Gronkowski's week 9. And also when you add them to your team, you have a bye week here. And then I have a chart showing kind of a breakdown of your bye week for all your players. So for people who like to watch that, see right now my team's kind of got a few players that are bye week 8 or 9. So I've added that bye week. And then I've already mentioned it, but I've added the note feature. So be sure to add your own notes, anything you've read about the guy that you just want to remember during the draft. If you add them over here on the notes column, it will show up during your draft in column J right here. And you'll see this in the previous video, but I have the players' handcuffs listed here, and then what ESPN rated them. So, and then whether they're still available in the draft. So you'll see if I go ahead and click Martellus Bennett's name and draft him to my team, he's now no longer available. Or if somebody grabs Martellus Bennett, he's no longer available for me now. And also, if you have any questions on any of these other stats, I kind of went into more detail on my original video, which I have the link described below. Or I have a summary over here on the About tab that you can read also. And you can also feel free to leave questions in the comments of my video. And that's all I've got to share in this video. If there's anything I failed to cover, be sure to check out the original video, because like I said, I kind of covered different things in that video. And if you still need any help, feel free to leave any questions in the comments below. And other than that, enjoy. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what you see.